going to go left. Oh, boy. On the way. No, returned by Chris Davis. Chris Davis, touchdown.
Tackle him.
One fan's
Tackle him.
play
Get
of the
there.
year
Get the angle.
is an Alabama fan's nails down a chalkboard. Ray Crawford here with managing editor Pete Futek as we examine Alabama's kicking game approaching this season. And here to help us, our Alabama Insider Chris Stewart joining us from Tuscaloosa. And Nick Saban, Chris, promised a competition here at kicker. You've got Adam Griffith, J.K. Scott as the two big contenders. So what is the status of the kicking game as we approach camp?
Well, as camp gets underway, I think it will be open, but I do think you'll see Adam Griffith win the job. Place kicker obviously is one of the easiest to determine in that you'll have guys basically kick every day in practice. Which one handles the pressure the best, that's the one that'll come out with it. But even though Scott is likely to be the punter, I think you're going to see Griffith handling the place kick.
As you know, Bama just 1 of 6 in field goals in those final 2 games against Auburn and Oklahoma. And any explanation, Chris, on what the collapse was and why, and is this concern legitimate concern or is it overhyped?
I think it would be a bigger concern if Cade Foster was back and he was the guy that missed the bulk of those kicks. But instead, even though it was Griffith who had the field goal returned by Chris Davis, this is basically his first year. He had some mop-up duty by and large, but I think it would be a bigger concern, again, if you had the same guy back handling those kicking duties.
Now, the Achilles heel of Alabama is mobile quarterbacks, which we still don't know if they're going to be able to handle them until middle to late of the season. But, the kicking game's just not going to matter that much. Alabama's going to beat everyone by 30 or 40 early on. But the difference between being very good and winning a national championship like last year, as we saw, was going to be that kicking game. And, in those really tight battles, they got to know, can they rely on a young, unproven player? We're going to see.
Chris, let's shift gears for a moment and get your thoughts on Alabama's opener against West Virginia. What problems potentially do the Mountaineers pose?
Well, Clint Trickett obviously is a skilled quarterback. He's another guy out of Tallahassee, just as Alabama is likely to have one in Jake Coker as their quarterback. But he's a smart kid, very mobile. I think he can present some problems. Alabama's going to be the more talented team. I don't think you will see as big a difference between the two squads as Vegas is talking about, but I do think Alabama will have enough to get it done.
I love you, Chris, but if you're worried about Clint Trickett, there are big major problems here. That is not going to be an issue for the Alabama defense. I think the only problem that West Virginia might pose is just sort of that X factor. The offense could be a little funky to start the season. Again, we got to know if this secondary can stop anybody. They didn't do it at the end of last year. They didn't do it against Manziel. They didn't do it against Nick Marshall and Crunchham. They certainly didn't do it against Trevor Knight. So I don't think Trickett's a problem, but I think the Mountaineer offense is an issue overall.
Well, we're going to find out here on the 30th in Atlanta. Chris, thanks very much. Few thanks to you as well. That's just one game, but what about the rest of the way? Check out our official Alabama preview up and running right now on CampusInsiders.com.